Janine with Natural Grocers, and I am pleased to introduce Diana Sproul. Diana is a clinical herbalist, holistic health coach, and nutritionist. Great health is a passion for Diana. She studied at Boulder's Colorado School of Clinical Herbalism, and she also owns the company Transform Health. Welcome, Diana.
Hi, Janine. Hi, everybody who's watching at home. Thanks for joining us today to learn about Dr. Weston Price. Let's get started. So the amazing Dr. Weston Price. This guy is amazing. He's really helped me a lot with my own health in my own life, and I can't wait to tell you about him. And there's a surprise note at the end. Here's my info again, Transform Health. If you want help with your own health, let me know. And I also have an online class at Udemy, Raise Your Immunity. You can look up my name or look up this link, and I have an email newsletter that I send out once a month that's free if you're interested. You can also find free podcasts. They're video podcasts all over the place at the top here, all these icons, and then I have audio only versions at the bottom. So who is Dr. Weston Price? He was head of the National Dental Association. He lived 1870 to 1948, and he wondered, what is the difference between great teeth and poor teeth? Because some people had great teeth and some people did not. So most people would just let it go, and they would go and sit in front of the television and not wonder that anymore. But he would instead went on a worldwide study with his wife and traveled to over 3 years to 14 different countries and 5 continents. So most people wouldn't do that. And then he wrote this book, which reads like a travelogue, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. And he compared native diets with the modern diets, which include white sugar, white flour, and vegetable oils. And what he found was native diets had 0 to 2% cavities, and that was present and in the past. And modern diets were 35 times higher. In some cases, like among the Swiss, they had so many cavities that they were replacing teeth. And unfortunately, they were only replacing teeth in the men. They didn't think it was valuable to replace the teeth in the young women. So, I mean, you can compare 0% cavities versus 35 times higher. So, and this is what he found. The native diets had higher vitamins in natural fats. The amount was 10 times the natural amount of vitamin A versus the 1930s US diet. That's like a huge amount. So the modern diet is vitamin deficient, and this was in versus 1930s. I can't imagine what it is today when we, it had lower. The modern diet has low and poor fats, vegetable oils, which are not good food in general except for olive, high white flour, and high white sugar. So here are some people who have great teeth. Look how straight they are. They have nice faces, nice smiles. And remember, in some places, including the European areas, sometimes they were not brushing teeth either, but their teeth were strong no matter what. So they had strong, straight teeth, a wider face, and a dental palate, and that means that all the teeth fit. So you don't see that the canines come in kind of crooked in teenagers. They had wider nostrils, which meant they could breathe. They didn't have mouth breathing, which can affect what your mix of oxygen coming in. And they had higher immunity. They had less or no birth deformities, which is amazing. They had high vitality, seniors too. So these people had a great vitality up through very great age, like hauling wood, that kind of vitality. And they had mental strength too. They had no crime, and in some places, no prisons. And labor among the women was short, easy, and no death. They had never heard of death in some places, of any woman dying of childbirth. And that, this is comparing the people in Canada, the Native Americans of Canada, versus the, like, say you think about the women in Jane Austen's England, where it was 50% per birth, whether they would live or die. And so these benefits are not just for the individual, but also for the offspring. Give me a second. My eye is watering. Okay. So what did the native foods diet include? Activator X, which came to be known vitamin K2. This is a fat-soluble nutrient, a catalyst for mineral absorption, blood clotting, and bone formation. And you'll see later, we'll talk about what foods it's in naturally, and you'll see how to get them. And then cholesterol. People need cholesterol. I know it's been demonized along with many other fats, but we need it for growth, development, And this quote's from Nursing Traditions book. It makes steroids that protect against cancer, heart disease, and mental illness. So cholesterol is super important for brain development, especially. So where do you get these? What are the food sources? High fats from wild game and grass-fed animals. That means grass-fed eggs, meat, dairy, and wild game. So grass-fed dairy, milk, cheese, and butter. And the vegetarians, this is the only group that was vegetarian. It was among the Swiss, but most groups were sort of omnivores, I would say. There were no vegans in his study that were successful out in the wild. They lived on wild fish and seafood. They lived on organ meats like liver, brain, gizzard, and kidney, and tongue. So these organ meats, I know we don't usually have a habit of eating them these days, but they do tend to be very cheap foods, believe it or not. And they're actually very mineral rich. And I've had digestive issues, and I can tell you that liver has been a godsend for me. And I also eat gizzards because they're cheap. They're pretty tough, I will say. They're pretty tough, but if you can include them occasionally in your diet. I was like running after, being tired, I was running upstairs at a higher altitude after an all day at a fair. And it's because I had a lot of liver pate that day or a few days prior. So they have super amounts of minerals in them. And also liver itself is super high in vitamin A and B too. So the native diet also includes fish eggs for fertility among young women, especially, and young men. They also treated young men for fertility because they knew how important these minerals were for having healthy babies. They ate clay sometimes, and that was for the minerals. And they were probably following the animals here. Sometimes their diets include insects. I'm thinking like the Aborigines of Australia here. And they're supposed to be very, very full of vitamins and minerals and water, and especially in these desert areas. Okay, and they had low grain use, or it was whole grain among the Swiss. But in general, very, very low or no grain, no whole grains. If you think about it nutritionally, it's really hard to go get grains. It's hard to collect them. It's a lot easier to go get an animal and eat it. It's so work intensive just to get it, and then you have to soak it and you have to grind it. And just to get enough, it could take much longer than just to have meat, dairy, fish. So it was more labor intensive and also harder to get the nutrition out of it. And these diets included low or zero sugar too. That's super important. Okay, so here are the Swiss. These are kind of funny photos, but they're trying to show the kids' teeth here. These kids have really, really nice teeth, and they were not brushing. And they were just living on the native diet of, again, they were mostly vegetarian. They mostly lived on dairy products. So they had cheese, dairy, and butter, but the cheese and butter were saved. And the cows went up into the high mountain passes in the summers, and they basically stored vitamins in the form of cheese and butter. And you look at this picture on the right, these kids are running around with hardly any coats on and no shoes. And they don't seem to mind. And they're just kind of impervious to cold. And then Dr. Price and his wife were pretty cold standing there. So they thought this was pretty amazing. And, they just didn't have the money for shoes too, but at the same time, the kids were warm. It's because they were on this really, really good diet. And I've heard the same thing about historically, the Scots were not as cold, and they were also taller. A lot of people were taller on the native diets than they were on the modern foods. Like this, again, the Scots, I think they lost like 3 to 6 inches in height on average. Okay, so look at this picture. The people on the left are the Aborigines of Australia. The guy in the middle has a gray beard, so he's old. And the guy on the right, I think he has a gray beard also. These men are like in super shape, right? And then the people on the right also, like they don't look like robust individuals, but they have straight teeth and they were happy and healthy and strong enough to do work through old age and have mental clarity. Excuse me. So the native food diet, what does it include? The fat soluble vitamins are super high. Remember, that's where the vitamins are in the fat. So you had 10 times the vitamin A versus the 1930s US diet. So what is it today? Is it even higher in the native diet than the 1930s diet? Because I feel like we keep going toward vegetable oil, which is actually really bad food. We really want the fats in the high fat foods. So high fats, they contain the vitamins. That's the fat soluble vitamins like A and D and E. And it also helps the absorption of the water soluble vitamins like B and K. And then the omega-3 level is super high. Most of us need more of this. And sometimes I think the weight gain among people is they're waiting for the omega-6 to show up so they can process it together. And then the omega-3 to 6 ratio was in a good balance. So when it's in a balance of like say 1 to 2 or 1 to 4 of omega-3 to omega-6, you tend to have less inflammation. I can't guarantee this for you, but it seems to be that these people just did not have chronic disease at all. And they had really, really good rates of cavities. So good health overall in the body equals good teeth as well. And I'll tell you the surprise thing in a second. And these foods also include CLA. Excuse me. CLA is important for muscle growth, anti-cancer, and less overweight. So it helps people be trim. So this is actually found in foods that are grass-fed. So here's the Samoan Islanders. We're going to compare them now. So the native foods, people are on the top. You can see they have really, really beautiful smiles. Those are some white teeth and they're beautiful. And then the second row is modern foods, the first generation on modern foods. You can see these kids, their teeth are crooked. And I can see on the lower left and the lower right, I can see the canines, they don't have room. So their teeth are sort of shuffling in front and in back. And I've seen this in our own kid, and think about, what does this mean? Like when we have all these braces, all these orthodontic companies in our towns, is this a sign of malnutrition, really? And I've had the same thing with my own kid. Don't get me wrong. But looking at this, I think, oh, maybe I can do better, you know? When you realize, oh, the teeth are made to come in straight and on their own. Perfect, right? Okay, so again, here we are on the far left in the blue area. These are people on native foods. These are the New Zealanders. So these are the native Maori. And they had the best teeth in the world. They live on an island. They had, I'm assuming, I haven't read lately, but I'm assuming lots of seafood because they're on an island, but also lots of land animals as well. Okay, in the center, you see the modern foods on the first generation. The young girl in the lower right of that sort of pink area, look, her teeth are broken already. And the girl in the top left of the pink area, her teeth are rotten. I mean, she's only like 16, 15, 17. How is she going to eat her food for the rest of her life and take in nutrients? And then the people on the right they're living on only modern foods. And these are people of European descent in New Zealand. So these are basically English who are living on white flour, white sugar, potatoes, and they have the worst teeth in the world. Poor people, you know? And that is not just the teeth. Remember, it's the vitality of the rest of your body too. Excuse me. So this modern diet, these are nutritional diseases this is what you see on this modern diet. Tuberculosis, this was new to the Swiss. The Swiss in the TB wards, they had bad teeth too. Tuberculosis has been around since Egypt, the time of Egypt, ancient Egypt, but you just don't see it if the diet is good. You basically become a bad host. So people who have good teeth and good health, they don't have tuberculosis too, but the people with TB had bad teeth too. So it's a sign of diet, basically bad intake of vitamins and minerals. So they also had gum inflammation, eye inflammation, tooth infection, quite bad, failing vision. Some people on the native diets could see stars that we can't even see with our naked eye today. And we would need a telescope to see them, but they could see them with their naked eye because their eyes were so good. Scurvy is another thing that comes. So it's extreme lack of vitamin C. And after scurvy, I mean, scurvy is so extreme, your teeth fall out. And then after that is you can die of it. And then the bone fractures that persist. So those bone fractures should heal on their own. And then the people on the modern diet had long, narrow faces. So that means they had a narrow dental palate, and that means tooth crowding. So that means they don't have room for their teeth. So you start seeing this thing where the canines can't come in straight. And then they had pinched nostrils, which means mouth breathing. And this actually, it's not just a cosmetic thing. It actually affects you in your brain because you're taking in a different mix of oxygen, apparently. I don't remember exactly, but the difference between mouth breathing and in your nostrils, it's mixed perfectly in your nostrils when it comes in that way. But when you're mouth breathing, somehow it's mixed differently, and it's less desirable. And also, like it's harder to breathe. Imagine every time you get any kind of respiratory infection. And then it's skeletal afflictions like clubfoot, humped back. You can see that, especially among women it's harder to overcome things like labor. Women who've had like 5 babies, sometimes you see it in their bones, in their back humps, and arthritis and joint pains. And then beriberi, which is a extreme deficiency of vitamin B1 or thiamine. And so you just basically kind of a mess on this modern diet. Okay, and then for the offspring, okay, it doesn't just give to you. Unfortunately, this stuff gets passed on. You see physical defects like cleft palate and crutches, mental defects, and these problems are passed on. And if you're interested in reading more, there's 2 Weston Price foundations. One is Price Pottinger Foundation, and I'll tell you the other one at the end. But Price Pottinger did a study with cats, and he showed that with poor diet, the cats, he was able to show that in about 3 generations, they couldn't even reproduce anymore. And then he also saw a lot of deformities. So he was able to very quickly show that diet really played a part in healthy cats, but also healthy humans. So the goal is to be healthier in your person and your offspring. So all these people were living on native foods, and look how pretty their teeth are. And remember, there's no dentist here. There's no doctor that specializes in teeth. Look how straight and clean and white and perfect they are. And these are people with vibrant health, right? So the goal is to get great teeth and health now, and also for your offspring. And what's interesting is Dr. Price, when he did this study, he actually came back, and here's the surprise tip. He said that you could actually cure your teeth with nutrition as well, that they were made to be cured similar to how your skeletons repair themselves. So I'm still trying to do that. It does involve fermented cod liver oil and daily vitamin C and low grain use. But if you want to find out more, I'll show you the books after this that'll tell you where to find that. Here we go. So the book I'm going to recommend are the bottom 2 here, the 3rd and 4th bullet. Nourishing Traditions book by Sally Fallon. And she had many other books. She's written many other books under her married name, Sally Fallon Morell. And then Cure Tooth Decay by Nagel. He has a Facebook page, and you can actually see proof of this. I've seen it of little kids. They've actually helped the kids. And I did an interview with him, and his wife was vegan or I can't remember. I think she might have been vegan during the time of her pregnancy. And when her baby's teeth were coming in, they were just crumbling away. So they changed things radically, basically, in her diet and also the babies, the toddlers. And things went better from there. But he lays it out very clearly on about 2 to 3 pages. It's a very small book. And then you can find out more in Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston Price. And he's an amazing guy. And then the Weston A. Price Foundation. And I really have a great respect for this foundation. They really are working for great health of everybody. So if you're interested in checking out their articles, they talk a lot about the importance of grass-fed foods. And grass-fed may be called pastured as well. So thank you so much for for listening today to this presentation. Here's my information again. If you're interested in talking to me about your own health, let me know. Here's my information. Again, I have the class about how to raise your immunity, which was made way, way before COVID, many years. And then I have video podcasts all over. And then I have an email newsletter here. And here's a disclaimer. This program has not really been evaluated by the FDA, and I'm not a doctor. And it's just for information purposes only. If you need medical help, please see your medical practitioner too. Thank you so much, Janine, and everyone who's watching out in social media. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more virtual classes from Natural Grocers. Are you looking for personalized nutrition advice to support your unique health goals? Please visit naturalgrocers.com/virtual-coaching to book a free one-on-one nutritional health coaching session with your nutritional health coach today.